Dude, these wrestling workouts I've been doing have me destroyed.
Yeah, every time I've seen you, you've just been in pain.
Because I took like 6 months off wrestling because I was just busy doing other things, mainly being depressed.
Yeah.
But now that I'm back, I feel so slow. Like, can you put your hands up like this? Like, a bit closer to me? If we're wrestling, I always feel like I'm like, eh, eh.
Oh, bless you.
And it's just like rough, bro. Like, I've been back and oh my god, it's rough. Also, my cardio is.
Oh, you're telling me.
So I've been doing these workouts, and even though I'm like struggling through them so far, I've been doing them almost every single day, and it's a 15-minute workout, and I haven't ever been able to finish it. I've been like getting better, and it feels so rewarding to like slowly chip away at something.
That's really nice.
So maybe you'll see. I'd love to go to like my club does match days, which are just like free of free events and also free of consequence competitions where you just get to like wrestle other people.
Yeah.
Hopefully someday this year I'll get to invite you to be like, hey, come watch me fight
I
and
wanna
lose.
see it. Yeah, no. I'll be there in my cheerleader costume.
Yeah, let's go. Everyone is super chill and you're like,
You ugly. I'll just be trash talking all your opponents. Yeah, I want to do that.
And I'm also like, I think I am the nicest guy at the club. I love talking to people, and to have someone there be like actively mean, I love that.
Yeah, we need that. We need to like bring the morale down.
But anyway, I start talking about myself this episode because it's all about me.
Yeah.
This episode is my turn.
It's all about Doc.
So we decided this thing where like each month that it's our birthday, we would like choose one, and it would be all of something, a topic, and it'd be whatever we wanted. And this is the first one. It was my birthday earlier this month, and I chose one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, Mr. Akira Kurosawa himself.
Hell
dude.
yeah.
Oh my god, I love that man.
Another round of applause. Yes.
The OG. And it had been a minute since I like got to like truly indulge in his films. I think I've told you, but did I tell you that one time I gave a class on Kurosawa?
No,
Yeah. So I've taken courses on him specifically, and we were at the film school that we went to, and it was during the pandemic, and like, obviously at first nobody knew what to do. And we moved to online training, right?
Yeah.
And nobody knew what was the right thing to do, what was good exercises, and somehow, probably because I said so, the management found out that I was like a huge Kurosawa fan. So then they just like asked me like, "Hey, would you like to give a class on Kurosawa?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Why not?
Yeah. So I gave an 1 hour lesson on Kurosawa, the basics of it. And I made this like a presentation, and I was talking about his different sorts of films and kind of like why also big factors as to why he's so like famous in the West, how he's not as famous in Japan, stuff like that. And it was a good lesson, whatever, right? It was mostly, I had a lot of fun.
That's
but
also so our film school coded that like
yeah.
a student was teaching.
Also,
everyone
not
else.
a graduate student, a student
A current
of the course.
student, yeah.
Like if we're both in the same class and suddenly I'm like, I'm giving the class
I
today.
have power today. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh my god.
But I made this like PowerPoint presentation to help me and have like visuals and stuff. And at the end, someone approached me to be like, "Hey, could I have the PowerPoint?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Even though it's only pictures, there isn't a single line of text, and the only text that there is Toshiro Mifune, who was like one of the main collaborators of Kurosawa, a picture of him with little squigglies under his eyes and the word "adorable" underneath. That is the only text in the entire thing.
Amazing.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Have it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have it anymore, so if she still has it, that's the only
That's cool.
that's the only copy of that class
What
left.
a relic. It should be in a museum.
I mean, he was adorable. He was actually my first husband.
Wow.
Toshiro Mifune.
Wow. I
It's
forgot
true.
you have such a rich backstory.
Sadly, none of the films that we chose star him.
Yeah.
Such is life.
But we've got some really interesting.
Yeah, we do have some
films to
interesting
talk about
films.
today,
So should I go ahead? Do you want to
go
set the
ahead.
timer?
No, you go ahead. Yep, I'll set timer. 7 minutes on the clock.
Cool. So the film that I chose is Kagemusha. Also, my pronunciation is probably going to be terribly off.
Sounds right to me.
But whatever.
Yeah.
So Kagemusha is an epic, a war epic, and I'm not even gonna summarize the plot all that much because the events don't matter as much as the general kind of like character arc of the main character. So Kagemusha literally translates to like political double, like a body decoy, because that's what happens. The movie starts in this like incredible shot of three men who look identical. One of them is the leader of the clan, the other is his brother, and then the third is a thief who was caught by the brother, and he noticed that he looks almost identical to his brother, the leader of the clan. So he has the idea of taking him in and like grooming him basically into becoming a body double for the clan, and very soon after that, the leader dies. So he becomes the leader for like before he died, he said like, I don't tell anyone that I'm dead for at least 3 years.
Yeah.
So he becomes that political figurehead for 3 years. Even though he has no political power, he is always the one in court holding session, and like his advisors are the ones who make all the decisions, but he's the public figurehead of this clan, and there are like 3 or 4 warring clans all around, and they all have these meetings and they decide, and they invade here and they invade there, and like there's a lot of like political espionage and stuff. So he's always like way in over his head about what he does. Stuff happens, wars happen, as war epics are to be. Skipping forward to the end, he gets found out. Weirdly, he gets found out because of his body, right? Because is it the wife, I think?
It's like a group of like sex workers.
Yeah, concubines.
Yeah.
They, he's like away from them, but then at one point he has like an accident or something. I can't remember, but they see his chest and they see that he doesn't have the scar that the true leader used to have, and he gets found out because of that. So he gets like kicked out.
Very sad. It's a really horrible scene.
Yeah.
When he gets kicked out.
Yeah. He gets like taken away. Also, the horse knows that it's not him.
Yeah.
The true leader was a horse girl.
Like, not my leader.
Yeah, and the horse goes like, "Fuck that!
It's crazy. Yeah.
So he gets found out and he gets kicked out and like disposed of. And then at the end of the film, we see the leader's grandson kind of like ascend to power, and he's a child, he's like a teenager, and we see him, the thief, from a distance kind of like watching this, and then there's another fight and he gets shot and he dies, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, and we can talk more about the specific last shot of the movie because I think it's insane. But yeah, that's kind of like the story of the general plot of the film. But as I said, it's very general because a lot happens in the movie. There's a lot of really interesting visuals and like interesting scenes and different moments. But like as a whole, the movie talks about power and like the meaning of power, right? Because he at first, like the thing that he opens with when he's talking to the emperor is that he says like, you call me a scoundrel because I'm a thief, but you're responsible for the deaths of thousands and for the poverty of your country, so like you're the real scoundrel. Then like an hour into the movie, when the emperor dies, he feels compelled by honor to take on the mantle to become the double. And as the movie goes on, he becomes like immersed in this character to become the emperor. So like Kurosawa is asking questions about, like, this is named one of his most philosophical films in the sense that it delves into the nature of power, right? Like, is power something that one has, or is it performed, or is it like conferred by society, right? Because he has no political power as the emperor, as the figurehead of the nation, of the clan. He has no political power, but the people around him act like he does, so he does. You know, it asks all these questions, and we can get more into that later.
Yeah.
But how much time do I have left?
1 minute 45.
1 minute. Okay, I can talk a little bit about kind of like the real life production, which segues into your movie. So this movie was made towards the end of his career, and as his career went on, okay, sorry, I'm such a nerd. Kurosawa started making 3 movies that beyond flopped. Bro, they were so bad. Okay. And they were judo movies, which sucked. I really want to see them sometime. But they were like really, really bad. And then he started finding success in like crime stories, right? In Japan. And that was really good. And then he started making more prestige films. And I think his first breakout, kind of like also into international markets, was Throne of Blood, which is an adaptation of Hamlet.
Or Macbeth. I can't
Macbeth.
remember.
Macbeth. And like it's really Japanese, but it's also very Western, so that made it like really accessible to the public of either market. And then as kind of his career went on, he kind of started leaning more towards the West. And for this film, it was distributed by 20th Century Fox, which is insane.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it was co-produced by Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas.
I did notice that in the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, what the hell?
What are they doing here?
Out.
And there, I think, it's probably more, but in my mind, there are 3 films that were like pretty like have like the West had a hand in making, which is this one, Ran, and oh my god, the Russian one. I'll remember the name in a second. But it's a movie about the Russian and Japanese war. So these 3 films are like kind of like odd ones out in his career. And then the last one that he made before he died. Oh, that's my timer. Then the last one that he made before he died is a movie called Madadayo. And it's a movie about a school teacher. And these are like the 2 genres that he worked most in. One called Hidaigeki, which is literally period drama, which were mostly samurai films. Come on, samurai. And Kagemusha is one of those. And I have a few other examples. 7 Samurai, Throne of Blood, Kagemusha and Ran, and Yojimbo and Sanjuro. And Sanjuro is my favorite Kurosawa film. It's a comedy, if you can believe. A silly slapstick comedy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We should bring it someday.
Yeah.
So that's like his period films. Yeah. And then Hendaigeki are contemporary dramas about, in the moment, more grounded stories like High and Low, which is a police drama, Drunken Angel, and Stray Dog, which is about crime and detective work and all that, as well as most notably the movie that you have selected for this podcast. So it's interesting that there's these 2 genres, and naturally we both chose of the opposite ones. I could kind of tell that you were going to choose that Hendaigeki one.
Yeah.
But you chose a delectable one. Yeah. So if you want, unless you have anything specific to say about Kagemusha, maybe we can go with yours.
No, yeah, I've got lots to say, but when we get into the proper,
we can talk about it together.
Comparisons. So
and there's a lot of like through line between both genres, but yeah, we can get into that in a minute. So go ahead, take it away.
But the film that I chose was Ikiru, which I think is probably... So I will preface by saying that I haven't famously got along... Not famously.
She's famously feuding.
Famously, I haven't really gotten along too well with Kurosawa, or like, I don't think I've seen enough of it or known enough about it to like, it's just never really...
Which I appreciate your patience, because Kurosawa is very much like a dude.
Yeah.
He's very much like a male figure.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you like those very much.
Yeah, often not. Actually, I would say famously not. For that one, I was
For that one, yeah.
Famously not.
She is feuding with men.
Yeah, I am
it's
feuding. But I don't know, not even for that reason with him. I think I just find his films quite emotionally impenetrable. and I've often found it quite difficult to like feel something through them. But like I watch it and I'm like, technically I really appreciate this and I see what he's going for, but it's never quite landed with me. With the exception of Ikiru, that was one film where I was like, oh, I'm actually very moved by this. So that's why I chose it, 'cause it's the one I think I like the most. But the story follows this like old man, and he works in this kind of like government, like very bureaucratic kind of world where it's, you know, their job's to like basically look after where they live and like build parks. And
he's in like public affairs.
And he's quite old, and then he doesn't really do much with his life. He doesn't really give that much back to others. He's quite insulated, and then he finds out that he is very, very sick and he hasn't got long left to live.
He's got stomach cancer.
He's got stomach cancer, yeah. And through finding out that he has stomach cancer, he's like obviously like really depressed about it, and he's like, oh, I've not got that much long left to live, and he's like he kind of closes himself off. But then he meets this young girl, and she basically changes his perspective about what's possible to achieve through his life and the time that he has left. And she says that she like really loves like going to the park and kind of spending time there, and she talks about the joy that has brought to her own life. And he realizes that he has the power to do the same through his job, and he devotes the rest of his life to building like a really beautiful play park for all the people to enjoy and for kids to play in and to like bring community together.
Which, if you don't mind me interrupting, the first 10 minutes of the movie, before we even get to know him, follow this group of mothers, really, who are trying to get this, like, cesspool of water cleaned out so that they can put a park there.
Yeah.
And they get routed to be like, oh, go talk to Children's Affairs, go talk to Parks and Rec, go talk to this, go talk to that. They get bounced around all these different bureaucratic entities with no progress whatsoever.
Yeah,
and then that's what he picks up.
Yeah, it's a very inefficient system, and he... picks up on the fact that he has the power to actually do something and make a difference in these people's lives. And so he sets about to do that, but you don't really see this process because he dies. And you know that like he achieved what he wanted to do, but you don't really see it. And then the film is structured in a really interesting way, in that the first half of the movie is pretty much him realizing how he wants to spend the rest of his life, and you don't actually see him doing that. And then the second half of the film is set in like, it's almost like a 12 Angry Men type situation. It's a bunch of like dudes sat in a room, and this guy has died, the cancer killed him, and they're all talking about his legacy, and they're slowly realizing that he had cancer and they didn't realize it, and they realized that he had such a huge shift at the end of his life, and he suddenly set about to do all this work, and he did all these amazing things, and it's these group of people like reflecting on that and slowly realizing what he was going through, and noticing this like radical change that appeared in him and what caused it.
They're in the funeral, and they reminisce about his life,
and they're kind of slowly piecing together like, oh, this must have been what happened, that he discovered he had cancer and then set out to do this thing for everyone else. And it's a really interesting film. I think at first watch I was quite struck by it just because of it's such an interesting way to frame a film. You have the first half of it that's from this man's perspective, and you kind of see this slow build up and realization as he realizes that he has to do something to make his life meaningful and to help the people around him. And then the rest of it is like other people reckoning with that legacy and kind of seeing the way that they could do the same in their own lives, and the kind of realizing the power that they also hold to make a difference. And it's marked by some truly beautiful scenes. There's like one scene where he's like swinging on this swing set in the park, and it's snowing, and he's singing this song to himself that's like really poignant, and it just felt really heartfelt, and it felt really coming from like a real emotional place that I hadn't really found in many of like the other Kurosawa films that I've seen. And I just really wanted to talk about it with you, because I know that like you know so much about his work, and I was like, I need Doc to explain this to me.
Weirdly, both films have impromptu singing. in them.
Oh, yeah.
Both films have a scene where a character is like, I must sing.
Yeah, he does really like, I guess it's probably like the messages that you can transfer through music is quite interesting.
Yeah. So I think one of the interesting things is that for Ikiru, I'm so excited, bro. Speaking specifically of Ikiru, before we go into comparisons, I think it's interesting that it's like equal parts a very melodramatic film as well as very cynical, because there are all these discussions about the meaning of life and how we create it and like what's important and like love and passion and all that. But then at the same time, he's quite cynical about all this, right? Because as you mentioned, these characters at the end talk about his legacy, but then they go back to living the way that they did. Mm-hmm. They don't really make a change. They understand and appreciate how he found this zest for life and wanted to make a change in people's lives, and then they just go back to bureaucracy. They go back to inefficiency.
Yeah.
With the exception of one guy who goes to visit the park that he made, and goes to admire this guy, and that's how the movie ends with this one guy.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to be like these like society. Something that both films talk about is how society cannot be changed by one person. You know, like the body double in Kagemusha was not able to affect the course of the war. He was just a puppet. And the guy in Ikiru has this eureka moment about his life and about life in general, and he tries to communicate it to people, but it doesn't really translate. You know, it's something that every person has to discover themselves.
Yeah.
And this one guy does, so like that's a victory. You know, like that's success. He in Ikiru, he equates heroism with like, rather than this like grandstanding argument against fate or for fate or, you know, to determine the course of history, he says like a hero is someone who cares for others in small mundane ways that often go unrecognized. And in Kagemusha, he says like this guy becomes in his mind the hero of the clan, the leader, but he's swept away like everyone else. So like it's quite cynical about heroism in both films, but obviously a much like nicer message in Ikiru. And I will say, if you are not a fan of Kurosawa, or if you're not that well versed in, definitely go for Ikiru before you go for Kagemusha. How do you find Kagemusha?
Okay, so let's be real.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ikiru is definitely like a more accessible.
100%. If before we get into it, if I can suggest one film, it's Throne of Blood, and the next one, Rashomon, which we were talking about.
Yeah.
And then maybe like Drunken Angel. That would be like, or Stray Dog, because they're very similar. That would be like my top 3 introductory Kurosawa films. You get a little bit of like samurai, you get a little bit of contemporary drama. Yeah. Okay. But Kagemusha is rough for like a newcomer. Yeah. So yeah.
I was quite frustrated by it, I think.
Thank you for being brave.
Yeah, I know. I was really speaking my truth here. But yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I just didn't really feel like there was much change in this character, and how his experience of power, like that didn't really feel communicated to me in any way, because you don't really see him in this position of power, like making decisions. Like everyone's like making decisions for him and just asking him to like pretend that it was like from him, and so you don't get a sense of him really like being changed by this experience, and therefore like the ending kind of, you don't really, for me, I didn't really feel as much of like, oh wow, like he's changed so much, and like, you know, he's gone from being a nobody to a somebody and blah blah blah. Like what did strike me was the how he was just kind of treated like nothing by the people. I found that the most moving bit of the film, of how he was just used as like a puppet by the people. And I do think that idea that you were talking about is interesting, of like, oh, what is power? Like, is it something that's inferred, something that's like you're born with, or, you know, whatever. So yeah, I just think I found it's quite a slow film, and it's like quite long. And I didn't really feel like there was the need for that, because it didn't really feel like much was being communicated through that time, and it felt like a lot of wasted space that was building to not really that much being said. And I felt frustrated because I couldn't like quite communicate what I thought was happening, or like what it was trying to say. And I hate when people are like, oh, you don't know what it's trying to say, like it's so annoying. But like with a film like that, if you're like waiting for this like payoff for like literally like 3.5 hours or whatever, then you want it to be something that's like gratifying. But I was kind of like, oh, all that for that? To him just like, he's kicked out the castle, and then he's just like spying on the grandson, and then he dies, and like I was like, okay, so this did mean something to him, but like I didn't really feel it. I don't know, like what's your, I just want to know.
First of all, like I think you're absolutely right, and I also think there's a bit of a cultural barrier, and I'm not even saying like, oh, I understand this better than you. I think the barrier is just there for me as well, because Kagemusha and Ran in particular. Oh my god, I can't believe I said Seven Samurai. Yeah, that's also a good one to start with. Seven Samurai. Yeah. Have you seen Seven Samurai?
Yes.
It's good. It's good. It's a good like beginner's one. Anyway, Kagemusha and Ran are very specifically like tough to get into.
I did read up on like Reddit forums afterwards, like what people think of those songs, and I did notice a lot of people saying Ran and Kagemusha.
Dersu like, Ursula, that's the Ursula, whatever. That's the Russian one, and that one is also like tough to get into.
Yeah.
And I think there is also like an aspect of just like cultural history that we are not privy to. For example, Oda Nobunaga is one of the characters in the movie. He's like a minor character. He's just like one of the leader of the other clans, I believe. Sorry if I'm wrong. So like I do understand that like if you know Japanese history, because this is all real things. I don't know if the story actually happened in real life, but the context is based on real history. So I think to some extent the appeal of the movie is getting to watch all these things in like beautiful, stunning visuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because visually, the movie is stunning. The costumes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, bro, they are beautiful. And some of the visuals are just like as well insane. They have these like huge fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like huge castles.
I loved the opening shot.
Which one? How did it open? Oh yeah, with the
three identical men sitting in like a completely black like room.
Yeah, yeah. The opening shot is really insane. It's so good,
and it's like just like uninterrupted for like 7 or 8 minutes or something.
Yeah, and it shows a hierarchy, right? Because he's like tall, then the brother is like a little bit low, and then the thief is all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are presented as like this triangle of men who look the same. It's insane.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like that.
But so I appreciate that was like tough to kind of like enter. Oh my god, I completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah, the just like emotional impenetrability and the
in my mind, kind of like the interesting part of in a way that Ikiru and Kagemusha are opposites, are in that Ikiru is about a character choosing to live a different way externally, to be like, I want to make a difference in the world, and I want my last year or whatever to be worth something. Whereas like and he has the power to do that, you know, he has the power of making the park happen, which is what he does, and it's amazing. And in Kagemusha, he wants to become the double, but then he can't like live that life, you know. He's like, he has to pretend all the time, and he gets kicked out like nothing, he gets disposed of, and he doesn't have like the kind of like power to live that. So all of his change happens internally. There's this dream sequence where he's suddenly haunted by the ghost of the real emperor or whatever, who breaks out of his like funerary urn and just like chases him, and is like surreal and colorful. And there's like this disconnect because he wants to be this person, but he just isn't.
Yeah.
And all the time in the compositions and stuff of each shot, you know, he's like often surrounded by people who know the truth about him when he's pretending to be someone else. So it's like he wants to live a certain way, but the world doesn't let him. And he gets to live in this fantasy a little bit, but not for his own benefit. And yeah, at the end he just gets like disposed of like it's nothing.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting because you only see this narrative, this like situation from the thief's perspective at the very end of the film, and like for the whole film he's just kind of like this passenger, and he's just going along with the protocol that they're imposing on him, and like you can tell, I guess, that he's happy because he just looks happy, I guess. Like, you know, he's like suddenly got all these people fawning over him, and he's got like all these women he can choose from, and he's got this like sweet grandchild that's like really besotted by him, and he's like, oh, you're so much nicer now, you know. And I don't know, maybe that's what he was going for, that like you only that he's just viewed as this like object, and you only enter like his emotional world and see him as a person at the very end of the film when he's being like cast aside. Because the scene that got to me the most was that moment where he's thrown out of the castle, and it's so sad because it's like raining and it's muddy, and he keeps trying to walk back up and get in, and then all the people just push him down, and he keeps trying to walk up and they push him down, and then they start picking up rocks and throwing them at him, and it's really sad.
Poor guy.
And that was the scene that I found the most affecting, because you're kind of like, it's really interesting how their perception of him can be changed so quickly. Like, what is our judgment of other people and our own feelings are so determined by these external factors and how other people deem people to be, you know. Like, there's so many things about certain people that are only liked because they look a certain way, and then they like change their appearance and people don't like them. You see that all the time with celebrities, you know. And it's like this person, he was accepted by everyone when they told everybody that he was this important person, and even though he looks exactly the same, it's like his intrinsic value has changed because they've decided it has. And I think that's really interesting.
For me, totally. For me, the most like impacting shot is the last scene. So he's on the battlefield, and he just gets unceremoniously shot by someone who we don't even see. For all intents and purposes, they're not a character, you know. Some off screen, he just gets shot, and he like stumbles into a river and dies there, and he like flops face down to the water, and the river starts taking his body downstream. And for the whole part of the first third of the movie, when the actual emperor was alive, he was saying like, I want my banners to like stand strong and to like show the world that our clan is strong and that there's power there. And then at the end, when his body is being dragged along, he goes past one of the banners of the emperor, and the banners, I mean, I don't remember the specific words, right? But it says like, strong like the mountain, unmoving, you know, like powerful, something that persists, and his body just like drifts past it, you know. So it's like this, he was used as this like proxy symbol of power, when like real power is something that is beyond any person. It's like this institution, right? And it fell, the power is gone, he is gone, and it's just like, it's just dreadful, you know. Like, it's just this feeling of like dread, like something's really wrong, and it's delicious.
I see it. It is really sad how disposable he is, and I guess also in Ikiru too, it's like you have all these people that are maintaining the image of like power, and then maintaining the boundaries between the people with power and the people that don't have power. And I don't know, I mean, it's much more like positive in Ikiru because they're showing somebody that has that power on the inside, and they're trying to like switch it up, and they're trying to push it back onto the people on the outside and like, you know, share it evenly. But it's
I think it's interesting. Let's talk some more about Ikiru. There's this character who you didn't mention, who I think is interesting as a little side note. Like, I think he's a writer or like a mangaka or something. They meet at a bar. And for a while, this guy is like, oh my god, you're like, teach me how you live life. And he finds this like hedonistic lifestyle about, you know, like drinking and women and stuff. And at one point, he describes himself as a Mephistopheles. which is insane. And then I found this really funny. He takes the guy to a pachinko parlor, and he's like this machine of dreams and what is it? Dreams and whatever I wrote. Dreams and illusions or something like dreams and infatuations. And I was like, it's gambling, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Which I found really interesting. But I do want to know, he realizes, this is not the way, this is just pleasure for pleasure's sake, and it means nothing. But then he meets the girl. And I want to know if you have any thoughts about her.
About the young girl?
About the young girl, yeah.
I mean, there is something inherently, I think, naturally, whenever you see a relationship like that present itself, you're naturally going to be a bit, like, wary of it, and a bit, like, dubious about his...
At first she's like, oh my god, yeah, but then later she herself is like, why are you trying to be my friend?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Very, very, very icked out about it. I don't know. I think it was... Yeah, you're gonna at first be a little bit like skeptical about it, but I do think it was quite an innocent relationship, and he was just genuinely placing the love that he had for his daughter and for his own children that he didn't really receive back, and he was trying to probably find more about their perspective of the world as young people through this young girl, because he didn't really have access to that through his relationship with his kids because they weren't super close.
Oh my god, there's this scene towards the beginning where his son and his wife are talking about how they're going to use his money once he's dead.
I know.
And then they turn the light on and he's there sitting on the floor with his face crack.
Oh, it's horrible. It's really bad. Yeah. So like all the people around him are just like using him, and like they don't really like have much like care for him, or like they don't feel particularly sentimental over the idea of his like death. And
this is before the son knows that he's gonna die.
Yeah.
He's just talking about him like that just because,
it's just a normal thing for him to be thinking about. Yeah. So I think the relationship with the young girl is, he sees something hopeful and innocent about her, and I guess he's trying to he's trying to find hope in his own life. So he gravitates towards her, and you understand why she's like a bit like freaked out about that, and she's like, oh my god, I don't know if this guy's trying to like get with me or like what's going on.
What I like about her, which has nothing to do with him, it's just like her perspective on life and stuff. I've been reading a lot about an idea that Death Stranding goes into. This channel is Death Stranding propaganda, just so you know.
Sponsored by.
But in one of the key themes that game develops, which is kind of like expounded about, but it's a real philosophy thing, is there was this Dutch philosopher, Johann Huizinga, who came up with the idea of the Homo Ludens. The Ludens being like this archetype or this way of life where people take life on as if it were a game, and like they don't take it too seriously. And I think she is a Ludens, right? Because she takes on the world like he's the main guy. He's so like, how are you always happy? How are you always laughing? How do you find such pleasure in life? And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I just do. And it's because she doesn't take life seriously. There's one moment where they go shopping or they go around town, and he buys her some stockings. And she's like, oh my god, if I were to buy this, I would need to save up for a week or a month or whatever so that I can buy them. And that's one sign. And then she also like, her passion is that she loves making little toys. She pulls out her bag, this little like stuffed animal, which is so cute. So like she sees life as like a game in the sense that she doesn't take things too seriously. And she's like, I could be consumed by the envy or the pain that I don't have the money to get these stockings, for example. Or I could make like a little game and like save up, and then when I get it, like, woo! And like her passion is in like making these little toys about something that like breaks reality for a second. It's something to play with, right? So I think she teaches him how to, take life as if it were a game, and how like to enjoy it in that way. So I find her philosophy on life very interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, especially because I guess is kind of implying that you can only have an impact on other people if you don't take life seriously.
Yeah.
And you don't think about yourself, which makes sense.
And she has like nicknames for everyone, just because it's fun, you know, because it's fun. And in a way, I'm like, I think we could all learn from that a little bit, just to do things for fun and to enjoy it and you know, to enjoy life, because it's running out, you know. Yeah, I find her character very moving, a bit one-dimensional, right, because she is supposed to be like this stand-in for a philosophy rather than an actual person, because there is only so far as taking life like a game is going to get you. You will get in trouble if you are playing all the time. You know, but for a little bit I thought that was, you know, like interesting and cool.
It's interesting because obviously he only takes on that philosophy for like the last year of his life, but I don't know, what do you think it would be like to live with that philosophy for your whole life? Do you think you would?
I think I live like that. And I really like it. I really enjoy it. I have a great time, bro. It's great being me. I'm not gonna lie. I have a really good time. But you know that there are certain moments where you have the expectation that things are gonna be fine, that things are gonna be good, and they're not.
Yeah.
You know, life is sometimes sad. And that's just what it is, you know. Sometimes things hit close to home. For example, earlier off camera we were talking about like friend breakups, you know, and that's something that you can't game your way around it, because you put yourself out there, you have fun, and then one day it's just gone wrong. And you know, like, it happens like that a little bit. But I think what's interesting is the healthy from my perspective, at least what I'm trying to do with my life, is a healthy balance of the two, you know, to take life as a game and to see everything around you as like systems that you can have fun with, or that you can, you know, get your way with, and then also be respectful of other people, appreciating that everyone is on their own journey, and kind of like letting that be part of the play. And I guess in a sense, flashback to another episode that we're talking about, that's why I have a little bit of trouble with the Dogma movement, right? Because it's not very playful. Dogma movies can be funny, and they often are, but they are like inherently, at least my perspective of it before kind of hearing from you a little bit, is that philosophy of film comes from taking film a little too seriously. You know, like, we're clowns. We're here to move people. We're here to make them cry or to make them laugh, but we're here to, like, you know, perform. And I think life is a series of performances that we can and like we can take advantage of that, you know. Very random thing, but one time in college I was talking to my friend and we were talking about sex, and I used the phrase like perform during sex, and he was mind blown by that. He was like, oh my god, I never thought of it like that. And if you think about it, like, it is what it is. And also, you know, here on a podcast we perform these characters. When you're with your partner, you know, you perform yourself a certain way. So when you start to see those things about yourself as like a game, you know, it can be quite liberating. The downside of that, sorry, I'm almost done.
No.
The downside of that is Kagemusha, right? Because in that one he gets used like a game, right? Like the people around him, as you rightfully said, they are the ones who have the power. They're the ones who are making the decisions. They tell him what to say, and he's just a pawn. So, and also, like, at times he tries to find the humor and stuff, and people are like, "Stop it!" You know, like, he would absolutely never say that. So don't you try. So, like, obviously there are ways to like hinder people's enjoyment of life and Ludens, playfulness, which is detrimental to people, right? Sure. But I think taking that philosophy of playfulness is just like a gift that we can have.
100%. That's so interesting, because that is so, just captures the essence of both films. Like, one person that's not allowed to be an active player in their own life/game,
which is
Kagemusha. In Kagemusha, yeah. And then in Ikiru, somebody that's been passive about that, and passive about taking control over his autonomy in this game and his decision making, and somebody who is transformed by the playfulness of becoming the player in his own life and realizing how much power and how much freedom he can fulfill from that. It is really interesting because what do you think was inhibiting him from doing that in his life before he found out he had stomach cancer in Ikiru?
Fear.
Fear.
At the beginning of the movie, they say like, if people often see life as like a scramble to get what you want, right? To get a job. I think also, side tangent, but I think that's also like where a lot of like male anxiety comes from, because like I know a lot of men think of women in the sense of like, you need to get in before someone else gets in. And not literally, although, but more so like you need to make a move before someone else makes a move, in the sense of, and that kind of like philosophy goes into everything, you need to secure your bag, you need to like get your place, you need to, do this and that, and then you need to like protect it. And also like the philosophy of like, we defend, like we protect. And when you have something, for example, the job that this guy has in Ikiru, you can become stagnant by just like staying and defending. And the opening of the movie says that, if you want something, hold on to it and stay defensive. Become invisible. Don't move. And then that way you're going to get to keep that thing.
Yeah. They're playing the game by like very rigid, serious rules. It's like, there's no fun that's being allowed to be had in the playing of the game this way. It's like, okay, you get your spot and you fucking stay on your spot on the board until you die. Otherwise it's gonna go away.
Literally. And this is an analogy for absolutely nobody but me. And earlier we're talking about wrestling. When you're wrestling, you cannot win by being defensive. Sure, you're gonna stop yourself from getting pinned. Sure, you're gonna stop your opponent for scoring on you, but you're also not gonna win.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was stopping him at the beginning. This like fear of losing what he had. And, I guess that also goes into a lot of different things. Like we're talking about like relationships the other time. I think that's why cheating is like such like this taboo, right? Because it's like this breaking of this thing that we're supposed to be like defensive about, defending about. Very, very like intellectually moving and emotionally moving. Even though I chose Kagemusha, I think I like Ikiru a bit more. I think it's a really, really fantastic movie with lots to think about. Yeah.
I do appreciate Kagemusha a lot more now, hearing it from your perspective. I do think, there's a lot to that, and it doesn't have to be explicit about those things that I was nitpicking about for what it was saying to still be communicated.
But there are valid critiques. Like I hear what you're saying, and it's true. And I honestly don't know when my like love affair for Kurosawa started. I just remember one day I had the same thought as you. I was like, I know that he's like really good, but I don't get it. And then one day I was just like, no, I actually do. I guess that's the way with everything, right?
It's a nice switch though. I think it is really frustrating when you have that thing of like, why can't I see this? Like, am I just stupid? And
then one day you get it. And if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, that's fine too. I doubt that this is gonna be the last time we talk about Kurosawa, because I think I'm probably gonna pick another movie of his for whatever topic. But for now, I'm just very grateful to like that you have indulged in this decision of mine.
No, of course. It's really fascinating
to look at a couple of his
learn
films.
More about it.
And Toshiro Mifune is my man. Stay away.
Hands
Cool.
off.